everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to Chris Peterson. Chris, it's great to connect with you. We're going to talk about your book, How to Drive Growth and Manage Risk in Today's Conservative and Liberal Markets. The book is entitled Red and Blue Customers. But we're also going to talk about your company called Lifemind. And it's all about making your marketing personal, making your marketing powerful. You're the only AI agent platform that aligns somebody's business with local customer values. The result is it drives stronger marketing performance. And so let's talk about AI for a second, because I think a lot of times right now people are, one, I love talking about marketing because I think it drives everything. I think companies who never thought about marketing need to. Companies that are doing it need to double or triple their marketing because it's all about building mind share with the right people today. And that mind share over time creates market share. And I'd like to talk about that. But I want to first get into, I think people are grappling with trying to figure out, okay, so my intro to AI is ChatGPT or, pick the similar platform. And then you have the billion dollar companies that know how to incorporate AI into their business. How does the average person incorporate AI into their business outside of the ChatGPT-ish platforms?
Well, I think on a day-to-day basis, I think a lot of business people I talk to are just relying on ChatGPT to help them be more productive. So we put that in the category of operational efficiencies. And then there's, emerging agents, AI agents, which are very task specific, that will help business people accomplish very specific things faster. And I think in the world of marketing, I think it's one of the areas where AI has really taken off because there's so much content to be developed and briefs to be written and assets to be generated that it's become a natural fit between AI and marketing, I think.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you do. So I want to talk about AI. I usually don't jump right in, but I want to jump right in because your AI agent aligns with the local customers. And as I shared earlier, I believe that we need to build a lot of mind share, and that leads to market share. And so
yes.
So let's just talk about that concept first, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people who are new to social media, professional service firms, people who aren't necessarily used to doing marketing, insurance agents, wealth managers, attorneys, commercial real estate, residentials do ish, but there's this kind of world out there that there's a lot of laggard behavior going on when it comes to even doing marketing in social media. So can you talk to that and what the result will be if they don't do it now in 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just marketing in general or the mind share concept?
Marketing in general, yeah. Marketing in general.
Yeah. I mean, marketing generally works. And, if you don't do marketing, then you're going to rely on some very slow growth levers, which might include, customers telling other people if they're really happy. Without marketing, you're just not going to be on the radar for people. And to use your word, it's like to occupy some mind share. And it's just, good old marketing, it works. And, there are only a handful of companies in the world that have become very large without any marketing. And that's like Amazon and eBay and Google, but you can't count on being them.
Right. But let me ask you a question, Chris. Let's say you take two people today, right? So we're recording this live on April 9th, 2025. Let's say you take two people, right? Just two people who are growing their business, same schooling, same background, same level of intellect, same personality. One person over the next 24 to 36 months commits to marketing, building mind share with their local, regional, national, whatever, wherever their clientele is. They're doing videos, they're doing podcasts, They're both very established in their field today. What happens if one keeps on doing it consistently and one does nothing?
Well, the one who does it consistently is going to learn a lot. So let's say they both
Yeah.
start at the same point, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, they both know nothing. Well, within a couple of months, that person executing marketing will discover these things work, these other things don't. And the only way you're going to discover the things that work is to get out there, put yourself out there, invest some money in it. It doesn't have to be a lot, and see what works. Because if you don't try it, you're never going to know. You're never going to know what does work. And the person who doesn't do anything, I mean, the strategy just becomes hope, right? Which is never a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about what you do and using AI to connect with people's local, just their clientele in general. How do you go with that?
Yeah. So what we do is we enable businesses to think about customers completely differently. And I wish I thought about this over the decades of my marketing career, but better late than never. What we enable them to do is to see your business through their eyes with their own personal values. And the idea is that basically the United States and even the world is made up of a pluralistic collection of different types of people who see the world very differently. And my book, Red and Blue Customers, is related to that. It dives into the differences between liberal and conservative customers and how they view products differently. At Lifemind.ai, we combine those insights with how different generations perceive different products and how people in different regions perceive different products based on their personal values. And all of those values come together to form a customer worldview. And it's very different because in marketing, we're so used to looking at customers from the outside in. We're looking under a microscope. Who are they? They have this much income. They're this gender. They live here. In marketing, it's rare that anyone tries to look through the eyes of the customer to understand how they think. And so what AI does is that it really helps bring that to life based on some calculations in our system and segmentation. It then aggregates the values of the best segments and then just brings it to life in the marketing itself. Because in marketing, we can't help but, excuse me, project our own values onto what we create. I did it for decades. And so AI becomes this dispassionate third party that can think like your customer and look at a product and understand it based on a set of personal values defined based on where they are.
Yeah, right. Get really laser focused. I mean, what I find amazing about AI is, it will assess one word versus a different word that will make an impact in how it's received by that client. Let's talk about your book for a moment. Red and Blue Customers: How to Drive Growth and Manage Risk in Today's Conservative and Liberal Markets. It's an interesting title because I think, on one street in any community, you've got conservative and liberal people, and you're marketing to a zip code where, it's I would imagine, a collection of both.
Yeah, well, you see a big variation.
Yeah. So how do you speak to each of them who are also being, just inundated with, reels and, and off of every other platform out there?
Well, the idea is to create a stronger fit between your marketing and the customer. Okay. And to use your word, mind share, like how do you occupy mind share, right?
Yeah.
You can do it through volume and investment, but you can also do it by creating far stronger fit. And it goes way beyond just solving a problem or finding pain points or things like that, something functional. This is more about how do you make the product fit into the personal life of the person you're talking to. And that's where the personal values come in. And that's where the liberal values and conservative values are so distinct in our country today. And yes, there are zip codes where you see an equal number of both people, but there are a lot of zip codes that skew one way or the other. And marketing to me it's a game of aggregating markets and looking for underlying themes. It won't explain everybody, but if you can explain most people, then you're way ahead of everything else.
What are some of those themes?
Well, like for example, in the book, I go through 20 different types of values that distinguish the two groups, and then 7 that unify. So the ones that distinguish the two groups include things like change boundaries. This is kind of an obvious one. This is one that anyone can relate to, where liberal customers, their change boundaries are wider and broader. They're willing to change, and conservative customers aren't. That's easy. But then it gets into things like self-moderation. And this is, by the way, this is all based on hundreds of research studies that I plowed through and aggregated for the book. Self-moderation, liberal customers are more into self-expression. Conservative customers are more into self-control. Thought styles, like how a liberal customer and a conservative customer think about a product, the style of thought they bring to bear. A liberal customer uses a wider ranging set of inputs in order to come to some kind of aha moment. A conservative customer will use a more regimented, methodical way to reach a conclusion. And it goes on and on and on. Perceptions of the future, well-being, exploration, self-image, certainty, influences, like how celebrities influence one group over the other, and who those celebrities are there's a big distinction. And visual styles. So there's a lot of distinctions and a lot of this, honestly, it all sits in these hundreds of research studies in social psychology and social anthropology, but they've never been brought to bear in marketing. And that's what got me so excited about the project.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I'm curious your take on celebrity today. What defines a celebrity? It seems to me that there's more influencers who have more influence on people than quote unquote, the old school celebrity out there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a mix of both, right? Because it really depends on, the medium that you're using. And if you're using mostly digital media to grow your business, I think influencers really come into play quite a bit. If you're a bigger national advertiser, then celebrities are probably going to come into play. All you have to do is watch Super Bowl ads and you'll see about 150 celebrities.
Yeah.
And some of those celebrities will align with a more liberal audience and some with a more conservative audience. And what I find is that when these brands invoke celebrities, they're not thinking about the worldview makeup of their market, like whether their market is more liberal or conservative. So, that's where the influence of these people really comes in. And there are certain types of celebrities that actually appeal to both, like, NFL players appeal to both. NBA appeals far more to, liberal customers. Baseball appeals to both. Yeah. So, again, but brands make these choices over these people sometimes without thinking about this, and it either becomes a tailwind or a headwind for their business.
Yeah. All right, thanks for that. So let's go back to your product a little bit. So somebody's interested in really zooming in on, who their clientele, their customer is. If a client were to come to you, how do you work with them?
Yeah, so all they have to do is provide a file, which is a customer count by zip code. And so there's no sensitive customer data. The whole thing's in the process of getting automated. We're working with companies today that are super interested in it. You provide this, it's essentially Excel spreadsheet, zip codes in one column, customer count in another. We upload it into our system. Calculations are run to identify the best segments because we've encoded 41,000 zip codes with distinct value sets that include liberal or conservative, generational values, as well as regional values. And so we identify the segments where people are buying the most. Then once we identify the top performing segments, AI kicks in and brings those segments to life in both the creative development as well as the targeting. So you're essentially going from a very simple file all the way through to campaign assets that know who your customers are. So it goes way beyond going into ChatGPT and saying, write a blog post for me or create an ad for me based on what I know. And so it's something we're very excited about, and it's something when we show it to companies, companies that have been through segmentation studies many times, they tell us they've never seen anything like it, and they get very excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the visual of, I'm sure, walking them seeing it is raises a lot of awareness, and they can see all the benefits. Chris, so a couple of things. So you've started and sold some companies of yours. Some of the biggest companies have started during a recession. I don't know if we're technically in a recession. Some say we are, some say we're not. Regardless if we are or we're not, it's good to get prepared. Airbnb, Disney, we can point to a lot of different companies that have actually started during a recession. I think it can be a great time to grow your business and to, build something, and grow your current business to new levels. What advice would you give somebody today who's just kind of, in one of those buckets or all?
Yeah, I think the framing of your business shifts. There's no doubt about it. If there's some level of fear about the market, then you have to focus on enabling operational efficiencies, being more efficient, being smarter with the money you have today, doing more with less, right? And I think just about any business can play into those themes, as opposed to when times are better, it becomes more about, hey, let's go growth, let's really expand, pie in the sky kind of stuff. Certainly the firms that I started, I lived through many cycles.
Yeah.
And sometimes it felt we were counter-cyclical, and sometimes it didn't. But there was always a way to get through it, and you had to read the room with the customers. You had to really understand their concerns and how they're thinking in order to respond to it and reshape the business in order to align with that. Otherwise, it's you can just come across as kind of tone deaf.
Yeah. Well said. All right, let's do a quick speed round. Book that's had a big impact on you. I see a lot of books behind you. What's a book that's had a big impact on you?
Well, there's a book called Thought Styles. Interestingly enough, I mentioned that earlier. It's written by Mary Douglas, a British social anthropologist, and it really started me on this journey with the business. And her work just opened a lot of things up for me.
Yeah, it's great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
When someone told me to only worry about what I can control.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one. Last question. One thing every company can do to start the AI journey to the next level is
to look at your typical day and look at the types of things that are more mundane.
Yeah.
And then attack them with AI, because it'll allow you to be far more productive.
Yeah, well said. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you, Chris.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of regional and national brands, or anyone that has some type of franchise organizations, retail organizations, national brands. If they are interested in learning more, the book Red and Blue Customers is available for sale on Amazon. The company is Lifemind.ai. And feel free to reach out with any questions about it and find us there. It's an evolving business. It's a startup. It's exciting, and hopefully other people are in the same boat and doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your insights, and I think you're infusing everybody to think more about AI. You're helping them with AI. I think it's a thing that people are confused about what that very next step sometimes is for them and how to use it, apply it. So I think I wish you all the best in your startup, because there seems to be a gap in people's knowledge and they don't know where to go to kind of get that next step knowledge. And so
Yeah.
it sounds like through you and your experience, they can get it from you. Think community. If Chris can help you, please reach out. If I can help you with any business coaching, please reach out. Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in from Italy, and all the best to you and your business. It sounds great.
Thank you, Jon. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it very much.
Thanks, Chris.